Yeah, thank you very much. So I bring you some slides. Let's start. Yeah, I would love to tell you a bit more about Catharijnesingel in Utrecht. Maybe first of all, tell a bit about the Netherlands and the issues we are dealing with. So maybe half of our land is below sea level. That's one of the issues. So over the, let's say, the last 1,000 years, we always learned a lot about how to protect the land from flooding, and we built big infrastructures for that in the past. But now we notice that it's not only about protecting to sea level rise and river dynamics, but it's also about our scope of work is also about people living more and more in cities. So therefore, the two subjects we are working about as a studio is the waterfronts and healthy urban living, because the density in cities is increasing, and therefore we need to have attention to livable cities for people, which relates to climate, mobility, all the issues we have been talking about already this morning. So the aim of our studio is designing meaningful places, which means we would like to design public spaces who are pedestrian oriented and with big green-blue infrastructures in itself. And it's not only about, let's say, the systematic approach, it's also about the social sustainability, that we think it's important to make healthy, not only healthy environments, but also healthy communities of people who can experience public space and the outdoor living area. This all relates, of course, if you want to have let's say, the biggest guidelines within we are working, it's of course sustainability, the sustainable development goals, which maybe not all affect our work, but a lot of them are in. So we have been facing this morning already the mobility change from car towards pedestrian, and this is just a super short introduction, a project we did in 2019. In the past, it was a big road right through the village in the east of the Netherlands. And then because they were redesigning the street outside the village with a big tunnel, there became space to change the completely center of this area into a cream-blue space with almost, I think this was one of the first stormwater drainage systems in the Netherlands, or maybe all over Europe. It's a big time ago already we designed it, but as this village is located on the downside of a hilly area, there's a lot of water what comes from the hills into this village, and now there is a storage buffer of maybe 600 or 700 cubic meters of water in these boxes. Another concept is, of course, this all about temperature and shade. It has been mentioned earlier this morning. This is an example of our project of Rethink Athens. I think it was 2009, even a really long time ago, where we developed already concepts to decrease temperature by adding trees, and it was a nice combination of the issue in Athens was that there was flooding in wintertime, and in summertime there was big issues with drought that green even could not grow. So therefore we developed the concept to store the water underground and to reuse it in summertime. This I mentioned before already, it's not only about healthy environments, it's about healthy people, healthy communities. So it's really, if we're talking about sustainability in our office, it's a lot about people as well. Okay, time to tell a bit more about the Utrecht project. It's not only restoring the Singel we've been working on, because we are located in the city of Utrecht as well. We are busy with all kind of green, blue connections, connecting the different parks with each other, that in the end there is a really nice network of green and blue connections. I think this you've seen also in the past. It was one of the shortest highways in Europe, because they demolished the former water system and then they built this 12-lane wide highway within the inner city center, and then it was restored back in towards the historical canal. So in a way I did nothing spectacular, because I just bring back what was there in the past, but I think it's really a nice story about building inclusive city, connecting all the different dots, and bringing new topics like climate adaptation, new kind of mobility, the social sustainability, all these things, they come perfectly together within this one project. And this is the project area. You see on the left the historical city center, and on the right the whole new developments of the station area, business district, shopping area, all these things. And I would like to tell a bit more about the history of Utrecht. It was once built, so this is just a historical map with the signal surrounding the whole city. We are now the project area somewhere here, but I think it's interesting to tell a bit about that. 2000 years ago, it was the northern edge of the Roman Empire, so it started with the trajectum, the fortification along this northern defense line, and then the city grew. There was even a concept in the 1650 to expand the waterways within the city with some new canals, similar like Amsterdam or Leiden. Other cities would like to add more canals to the city and expand the city, but somehow it was never developed, because it was just some poor time in history, because of some different wars in Europe, and therefore this all was a bit a vacant space. Therefore the rail track come over here, and the part of this whole 8-kilometer water line was demolished in the 60s. So it's a bit of the different layers in time. So here you see the urbanization plan of 1615 with the new canals, but somehow it was only a plan. It never came to construction, and therefore there was space to add this whole rail track on top of it, and that became even more dramatic. I think this is just the plan of the 60s with this all new town, the highway in it, and then it means they start with demolishing the single. What's the age of this? 1970. Luckily, somewhere in the Netherlands, there was already a big discussion from participation bottom up, that they say, well, this is not a great idea to demolish everything. So after 3 or 4 years, it was stopped, that the other part of the water they still keep. But for maybe 50 years, we have been facing a center area like this, one of the biggest barriers between the different parts of the city, only traffic dominated, and really poor connections for people and nature to connect the different areas. This is when they were constructing it. They were quite proud of it. So when we started, we faced this situation. Here you see on top view that, let's say, 25% of the canal wasn't there anymore, and it took us 20 years to bring this all back in 3 different phases, and we as an office were asked to develop the last part of it, and we were considering some conceptual schemes. What should it be about, except that we were, of course, restoring the canal. It should be about, let's say, celebrating the identity of Utrecht and making this even more strong, not only bringing back the canal, but reconnecting the green line around the historical city center, and of course perpendicular to it, developing good pedestrian connections from one side to the other. So new bridges or connections between station and city center. This maybe shows a bit how it was related to the whole surrounding area. So on the other side of rail track, there is huge new developments like the Merwede Canal zone. I think you have heard once of it. So we have been studying different connections, even crossing the canal and the whole rail tracks, that there is, well, just reinforcing the network. And what's actually nice about bringing back the canal, that here there's suddenly a whole spot in town, 6 hectares, I think it's the dimension of it, where we noticed, well, in the past it was only car dominant, only car parking outside, and now here you see even a better map. This might be an option to restore the former estates along the canal, that all those public buildings really have an address along the Singel, and that we get rid of all car parking outside, and that we bring back the gardens of Morilse. This is not built yet, but it's still a concept we will introduce in 5 or 10 years from now. Some impressions of this Morilse Park area. And then, yeah, back to the canal itself. So here you see on top the situation of 2018, and at the bottom the situation of 2020. Important to tell this, that of course we bring back the water line itself, but along the water there was in the past a lot of car parking along as well. So our aim was not only to have water back, but to strengthen the park area and the public paths along the water. So we did our best to get the minimum of car parking in this space, that there was even space for this park line along the canal. Here you see some sections, super complex with all the different heights, especially because there were quite some underground structures, and the old trees which all have a certain level to what should be integrated in the new design. And well, we get some inspiration of the past. So this was the rest of the Singel park has been designed by Zocher 200 years ago. So somehow we were trying to get some inspiration out of it, how it worked with open and closed spaces, the different views, to integrate this in the new part of the design. And of course, all new elements of use and added layers on top of it. So those were just some impressions when it was not there yet. We spent a lot of time on the edge of the water, the way people can get in and out the water, because the water body itself is extremely programmed. In summertime, it's quite busy on the water. And underneath the water, there's a whole life for fish mitigation and cultural reef areas where fish can stay and hang around. And then, yeah, this is when it was constructed. You see there's active borders along the water. Well, this is a bit further away, more urban space. And why I like this project really a lot is that it's about all these different elements we've been talking about, the change of mobility, the green and blue structures, the climate adaptation, but also it gives a space in a city what is open to everyone. So the social meaning of this project is, of course, it goes back in heritage. So it relates to the past of Utrecht, but it's a space where all people are welcome, and the distinction between, let's say, people from the street, from the shopping area, the business area, the station area, and the inner city, they all meet together in this space, what gives, in my opinion, really added value in social meaning of this whole development. Yeah. Yeah, how much time is left there? Because I noticed that you are, I have 5 more minutes to tell about. So I bring you 4 other projects just shortly to to reflect on other work of us, how we have been busy in making really public space for people. This is an old project in London, the Catharijnesingel Gardens, where we had to deal with the Catharijnesingel ship, what is there with the museum, and this is what it was. So really urbanized, and this is what we there. This is the location where they start constructing the museum, and then it's 15 years ago already, but we were busy with making green and blue networks, connecting the dots, connecting the different parks, and trying to make this square, giving really an address to the river Thames, and making it a destination. So this is the competition plan we won in 2008, I think. Some impressions, and this is then when it was constructed. I think for now we would really, our aim should be to have less paving in public space, but on the other hand, this is a super important event area, so therefore it needs to have this just open space. And here you see how it integrates the park with a view towards the river and connecting the lines. Just some quick impressions. The water feature to reflect on the connection with the river, more like a playful element, and the view from the museum towards the outdoor space. Another one is Rotterdam in the Netherlands. It's this might be fun to show you quickly. It's maybe as well from 2007 or something, but it's speaking about all the different networks on top of each other. So the green network, the blue network, the zoning of the city, how all the different areas come together. So it was quite important in Rotterdam because it was bombed after Second World War, or in Second World War, and afterwards they have been busy with building all kind of towers, but not really the connected city concept. So that's what we have been adding over there, and especially the fronts towards the river. What you see here, it's maybe 10 kilometers of waterfront we have been designing, and it started with getting rid of all the cars, keeping the trees, and then in the end, making just public spaces, boulevard along the river. Well, this was not that difficult assignment, you could say, because if you look to these images, it is already beautiful, but when you get rid of cars and add green, and then you have this spectacular view in the back, it all gives a lot of added value to the city life. Maybe one last, and then I think this is just some quick impressions. The last one, yeah, here as well, the story about event space. So we all are aware that if we have less cars and more pedestrian space, it works better for green and blue structures. You can make better public spaces, but still, I think one of the new challenges is how you integrate the extremely big events in city related with the green-blue zoning you would like to have. And my vision is that we should, as landscape architects, we should aim that event space is way more related to roads or spaces which have another use during year time, and that we can still keep the streets or the park areas really as green spots. So this was start of Tour de France in 2009, and it shows wonderful that we could still have this green boulevard and the big event on top of it. Just 1 minute left, I think, to tell a bit about then the coastal. It started with coastal design, it will end with coastal design. Here we developed completely new land in front of Katwijk with a parking garage underneath the dunes, and it was all about coastal protection, but the nice part here is that we created a completely new dune park in front of the old city, in between the beach and the boulevard itself. And then underneath this new dunes, there is a car parking and there is a dike. So it's a dike in dune concept, what protects the, well, big part of the Netherlands from flooding from sea. That's it.